Hello everyone, and yeah, this is really orange. And when I took my sweatshirt off, I realized just how white I am. I really need to get out in the sun. I don't know about you, but I am so ready for summer. And today we are going to play along in the Heffy Doodle challenge over on Instagram or Facebook or wherever you can hashtag things. Just use the hashtag Heffy Doodle Stamps Challenge and create a summer-inspired card using Heffy Doodle products. So today we're using the Elephant of Surprise die or stamp and die set and some Heffy cuts that say hey and baby. I've got this Summer Dreams paper pack by Echo Park and I love it. So I'm going to take this shiplap looking piece. It's a whitewashed wood background and I'm cutting it out with the Your Next Stamp stitched rectangle die, second from largest. And I'm going to use this on a Simon Says Stamp Fog card base. So I'm taking the Heffy Cuts Hey die and this triangular pattern in the paper pack, and I'm making sure to cut out at least one of the little colorful triangles with that pink shade. What I want to do is create these very dimensional die cuts using these word dies, and this is going to be my top layer. But the subsequent bottom layers, I'm going to use colored cardstock, and I'm planning on using that pink shade. So I'm taking the other die and I'm cutting it out of the circular.
In the zone! Get away from me!
Yeah, this is what I go through, folks. So I've got a piece of Melon Mambo and a piece of Night of Navy, both by Stampin' Up. And I'm going to cut at least 4 layers of these word dies. Now I'm using scrapbook.com's brand new double-sided adhesive sheets. And so far, I love them. They're applied to the back of this cardstock so that when I cut out my word dies, I don't have to apply adhesive. It's already on there. All I have to do is carefully peel off the word die and then remove the adhesive backing and stick them together. So I'm going to cut the Night of Navy out of this baby. And I'm using my little pokey tool to make sure all of the inside of the word dies and stuff is all out of it. I've collected all of my layers, and so now we're going to start stacking these guys up. I'm going to make sure that all of the insides of the word dies are removed, as well as, you know, those little hairs and pieces and stuff that come off of the cardstock. And I'm going to remove the adhesive, like the backing paper, and I've already got one word die left in the cardstock as it was intended, and I'm just using that as a mold so that I can make sure that the rest of the layers create the hay exactly how Leslie drew it. So while I'm doing this, it makes it so easy. All you have to do is line it up to the best of your ability and then stick it down, especially when the adhesive is already applied for you. Now this top layer, I didn't use the double-sided adhesive, so I've got to apply some liquid glue. I'm using Ranger Multimedia Matte Liquid Adhesive, and I'm just putting a small amount of dots on the top so that this top layer can be the pattern paper piece that I previously cut out. I'm doing the same exact thing with the blue cardstock for the baby. This sentiment is awesome. The sentiment that I'm putting together on this card, you're gonna love it, okay? But first it says, hey baby. So I'm just making sure that the circular pattern that I cut out of the baby goes on top, and I've got lots of blocks to use to make sure that they're all heavily weighted and drying time is complete. So I've got this other sub-sentiment. I believe it says, when you look this good. So it's going to say, hey baby, age is irrelevant when you look this good. Okay? Who doesn't love that sentiment? So I'm stamping the When You Look This Good in VersaMark ink and using Hero Arts Ultrafine White Embossing Powder to emboss that on that Melon Mambo piece. So I'm going to heat emboss this, and the age is irrelevant. Irrelevant. Yes. And so that's this. This one is slightly bolder, so I did stamp this twice in a row. And when you use the Misty, you can do that easier because everything's all lined up for you. Now, it is not proof. I mean, I have surely messed up double stamping things sometimes. Like if your paper shifts or if something is out of whack, you can mess it up. But the Misty really does make it so much easier. So I'm just making sure to heat emboss this sentiment as well. This one didn't emboss as well as I wanted it to, so I try to be tricky later on in the video, and I'll show you what happened. This is a Swiffer dusting cloth. I'm just getting off all that excess powder before I use my Heffy Cuts Strips of Ease dies to cut out my sentiments. This is another thing that you can, it helps you, but you can still mess it up. I still tend to get a little bit wonky. At least to my eye, it appears wonky. You know, I know you're much more critical on yourself than you are on other people, so maybe that's my problem. I'm not sure. But I'm just cutting out both of those sentiments using the medium and the small strips of ease, the non-stitched variety. And I have to cut down my little piece of pink paper there because it wouldn't fit in my sidekick, and I love this little thing. So I've been using it a lot, especially for this, because it's, I don't know, it feels smaller, so more control. I don't know, it's probably crazy. Anyway, I've got the elephant that appears to be running and a balloon, because I love balloons, and I'm stamping them in Memento Tuxedo Black ink. We're going to do some Copic coloring. I really wanted the elephant. This is Elephant of Surprise stamp set, and I wanted the elephant to appear to be running, like enjoying summer. So hopefully it turns out like that. I've got just a few shades of yellow and a few neutral grays to color the elephant. I do have a Copic color map over on my blog if you are interested in the exact shades that I used, but this is super simple coloring, guys. This is not yeah, I don't fancy myself a colorist. I just make it gray, you know? So I'm finishing up using the 3 layers of color on my little elephant there. Hopefully it looks elephanty. And I'm using the coordinating dies to cut them out. You know, I didn't even try to see if it was going to fit in the little sidekick. I just used the Big Shot. Old Faithful. So I did put some white craft foam on the back of this shiplap panel. I used a double-sided tape to adhere it. It's nice and strong, and it keeps it where it needs to be. And I'm just trying to make it straight on my card base. So I've got my little word die cuts here, and they're all layered. And I used this little file. I think this is an Echo Park file also, but it just helps me get some of those little paper flyaways that you sometimes get when you have word dies. So I'm just making sure both of them are nice and as neat as I can make them. In the final photos, you could still even see some little hairs, but you know, don't look that close. So I'm adhering all of my parts and pieces. I didn't like how that stamped, that age is irrelevant stamped, so I'm using a white jelly roll pen to just fill in some of the whiteness of that sentiment. And of course I wasn't paying attention, and yeah, that's what I did. And I'm not paying attention, and then yep, it's smeared. And so there, I was gonna throw it away and just do it again. I did clip a little bit of a opening in his mouth so that I could make the balloon appear like he was holding it and it was flapping in the wind as he was running. I'm just using a glue dot to adhere it to the elephant, and that way the elephant can be popped up with foam tape and onto the card base. So I did try to scrape off the white, and it did work. But ultimately I did end up stamping it over again off camera. It looked fine, but I wanted it to look nicer. You can see it when, right there, if you want to zoom in or slow it down or stop it, but it wasn't that bad. But, I did end up, before I took the final photos, I ended up making it again. But I love how it turned out. Everything is popped up with Scotch 3M foam tape. I think it has lots of fun summer colors, and it brings on some summer feelings. If you would love to play along in the challenge, we would love to see what you create. I am adding some Your Next Stamp. I think they're Marine, the name of this. They're matte gumdrops, and I'm just using a yellow one and a little teal one. You have a chance, if you play along with us, to win about $300 worth of Heffy Doodle supplies. Try to find me on social media. Coming up next is Dexter doing a ton of flips. Okay, what are you doing?
Bin full of blackbird.
Oh, my hat. Woo! Do you see that?
I do.
What do you do?
He like flipped. Woo! Like without putting his hand, like I can't do that.
I'd break my neck again.
Ah! He's crazy. Woo! He's almost throwing his weight behind him.
What weight?
But I bet you he could do like no hand flip. He's gonna be one of those wildly wieldy. Woo!
I can't do a backflip because like I'm too heavy and I don't have enough strength to flip myself.
Well, this isn't a backflip. This is like a front somersault. But
Yeah. Well,
woo!
it's
Careful.
hard to do that too because I'm so heavy. It like puts a lot of pressure on my neck.
He is tucking his head so far in. Yeah, like.
For my neck. Now for my double wig flip.
Double what?
Wig flip.
Oh my
Not gonna
gosh.
end well. Don't you
No,
do
no, no,
it.
no, no.
You're
No,
gonna-
no, 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 no. Oh my goodness.
I'm
You know,
crazy.
you know what makes me feel terrible about this? He's done like 10 flips. He's not even out of breath.
I
I
know.
think if I did 4, I'd be sucking wind.